This is the video from Module 2, Lesson 1. We're going to use multiplying with zeros and learn the zero rule. So I have some examples up here. The first example is 4 times 30. So the first thing I do is I ignore the zeros. I multiply the two factors that are left, because the numbers I multiply are factors, and the product, which is the answer that I get, for 4 times 3 is 12. Then I look at how many zeros that I crossed out, and I put that many zeros back in, so my product would be 120. So I'm going to do the next one the same way, and I cross off all the zeros in all of my factors. I'm going to multiply 4 times 3, and I will get 12. And I notice that I have two zeros I need to put back in, so I put them both back in, and my answer is 1,200. The next one, once again, I cross out the zeros in my factors. I multiply what's left, which is 4 times 3, and then I put all the zeros back in. In this case, there's 3 of them. And on the last one, same thing. I cross out all my zeros, and I multiply 4 times 3 is 12, and I put my 4 zeros back in, and I make sure I put my commas in. And then what I notice is that however many zeros there are in my factors, that's how many zeros are in my product. That's a good way for me to check. Then I go to an example like this, and I ignore my zeros the same way. 5 times 6 equals 30. That zero does not count as a zero I need to put back in, because this is the answer from just the fact. Now I have to put the other zero back in. So in this case, there's an extra zero. So I cross these out. 5 times 6 is 30. Then I put 2 zeros back in. Once again, we do it again the same way. Cross out the zeros. 5 times 6 is 30. And we put 1, 2, 3 zeros back in. And on the last one, 5 times 6 is 30, because I'm crossing out all my zeros. And then I put back in 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros. And in this case, what's different from the other ones is that the fact sometimes will create a zero. So there can be more zeros in my product than in my factors if the fact that I'm multiplying, so 6 times 5 is a fact that gives me a zero. So I need to be aware of that. Now we're getting into more of the zeros, but with larger numbers, and it works the same exact way. So 451 times 8 is not easy for me to do in my head, so I use my multiplication that I've learned. And I have the fact right here of 3,608. So now I go to the next problem. I cross out my zero, and I notice that my fact is once again 451 times 8. So since I already have the answer to that, I can write that down and then put in the 1 0 that I crossed out. It works the same exact way. So now I'm going to look on the bottom again, cross out my zeros, and I notice the 451 times 8 fact is there again. And since I already have that work done on the side over here, I can put that answer in. And then I notice that I have 2 zeros I need to add in. And that is how I multiply, using the zero rule to help me to use my trick that I can take the zeros out and then put them back in.